proof that our relations with Russia and nations that fall under its influence are rather testy right now. In the tiny Republic of Moldova, a former Soviet state, U.S. soldiers treated rather brusquely as they participated in a goodwill tour connected to the anniversary of Victory in Europe Day.
Like Ukraine, Moldovans must decide whether to fall under Russia's influence or the West's. Our Sydney Ryan connected with a West Texas soldier who tells us why some locals protested a U.S. military presence there.
Monday's V-Day celebration marks the 71st anniversary of the defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II. It also reflects on the enormous suffering by the then Soviet states.
Congratulations on Victory Day of World War II. Victory Day is a symbol of the courage, unity, and dedication of all Russian nations. Millions of soldiers, Marines, and officers gave their lives in the fight against Hitler's Germany.
We went and paid honor to at the Victory Day, part of Victory Day wreath-laying ceremony.
The annual Victory Day parade doubles as a military showcase. Now, despite an invitation from Moldova's president and prime minister, the U.S. Army's presence at Chisinau, the Moldovan capital, outraged many locals.
That's the beautiful mess of democracy at play. And so we as soldiers that have volunteered to defend democracy and to volunteer to defend those principles and freedoms, we have absolutely no issue with that at all. To us, it's encouraging because it's sparking conversation.
Protesters chanting "Go home, NATO." They believe the U.S. presence invades their sovereign state.
We, as the U.S., are part of NATO, but this exercise is purely bilateral.
Major Butler tells us U.S. troops are actually in Moldova to train its military.
So what we're doing in Moldova is a bilateral training exercise with the only Moldovan engineer battalion.
The U.S. Army's presence purely for transparency.
We were there for 10 and a half hours, and during that time, the res soldiers had an opportunity to exchange culture, to allow the people of Chisinau into our vehicles, to talk with them and intermingle with them.
Butler says the protest not indicative of the overall experience.
The protesters were there for approximately 30 minutes. They said what they had to say peacefully, made their point, and then departed.
Moldova is in Eastern Europe, wedged between Romania and Ukraine, and like West Texas, its economy relies heavily on agriculture.
It is Europe's poorest nation, maybe monetarily, but definitely not in culture, definitely not in kindness, definitely not in hospitality. There's a lost culture here and a lost friendliness and a lost honesty at times that we don't necessarily experience in more developed nations.
Major Butler says their troops will stay in Moldova until late May, when they will drive 1,200 miles to the heart of Romania for what hopefully is a more positive interaction. I'm Sydney Ryan, Fox 34 News at 9.